So, Kerry, great to see you.
You
Hey,
too, Ed. Nice to see you as well.
yeah. Listen, excited to bring Kerry on from Toronto, who's a great agent who's handled a lot of our athletes that have been moving up there, and just really want to just kind of get a check in, and I want to cover a couple things. We've got, if you're watching at current time, the NHL All Star event happening, which is always an exciting time of year for hockey. Uh, Additionally, what's happening in the Toronto real estate market that we should know about if you're moving there. I know there's a lot of foreign purchase type of issues and things like that, and just diving in a little bit with what those nuances are. And we'll cover it as quick as we can here. But Kerry, let's start with a proper introduction. Why don't you tell us where you work and how long you've been there?
Yes. So again, thanks for inviting me, Ed. And my name is Kerry Mantunis. I'm a real estate agent here with eXp Realty, and I'm the exclusive Sports Star relocation agent here in Toronto. And I've been in the business for over 19 years now. So I grew up in Toronto, born and raised, had many jobs, lots of people that I know. And doesn't matter where I go, I always run into somebody every day that I know. Doesn't matter what part of Toronto I'm from. So,
Kerry, 20 years in this business,
yeah,
and you still have all your hair and no gray. What the heck?
I know. My wife, she doesn't understand.
You're a very lucky man. Oh, great. So we know you're in Toronto, but tell us about that market. Is it a segmented market, meaning like you only work a little part of Toronto? Because I know Toronto is one of the biggest cities in the world. Or do you cover the greater Toronto marketplace?
I actually cover the greater Toronto market because when I first started, my bread and butter was just working my database. And a lot of people would move from one part of Toronto to another part. So over the years, I just learned every single area because I actually work in them every day. So I enjoy working in different pockets too. It's not boring like that. So, and I could best advise people, you have to know all these different pockets, and it's quite different.
I've got quite a few chances to get up to Toronto for different things. Actually, my wife's from Canada, from Montreal, a different part of the country, of course.
Nice.
But Mike Murphy, who's been in the NHL in all levels for a long, long time, I think he retired last year, actually, gave me a tour of NHL land, right? Like from behind the scenes and everything that happens up there.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing I discovered going downtown Toronto, where you have the high-rise type of living, right? Can you kind of dive into the different submarkets of Toronto and where you can choose to live? Like what does it look like? What's an average price in those different markets?
Sure. So like, just to rewind a little bit, like even going back like 15 years, like even 20 years, I remember writing my real estate license. I was studying and I'm sitting in the coffee shop, maybe 10 blocks north of the lake. And when I was sitting at that coffee shop, you could see the lake.
Yeah.
Now you cannot see nothing. It's full of condos. So that's how much Toronto has changed in the last 20 years. Like we actually have the most condos that went up, even next to Dubai, right? A lot of the landscape has changed. And also another thing that's changed is where certain areas were like the prime, like let's say entertainment district, moved down to more of the center, like the fashion district. That's one area there where King West is. A lot of people know that area. That's the area where nice restaurants, bars, cafes, lounges, and it's turned more into lounges than back in the days. There was a lot of clubs, and there was a little bit more trouble with that. So
right.
It's changed. It's changed a lot with that, with theater, with everything like that. So all those condos are now around there and around all the business buildings that everybody is working at, and it's beautiful. It's like a mini New York City, right? That's what I call it.
Yeah, it does feel like New York City there. I wanted to ask though, so if you're not in the condo market, what are places people like to live? And let's just assume you're an athlete coming to town and you have a lot of major sports there. Where do players tend to gravitate
Well, it's
and
interesting.
why?
I find that if they want a condo, and if they're, let's say, because there's two categories I always put. There's the single athletes, and then the ones that have families. So if they want to go with the condos, I find the single athletes want to be more right in the core, the fashion district, there where all the restaurant lounges are. And if it's more family oriented, I find they want to go like Yorkville, a little bit more north of there, higher end area, but a lot more better for, I guess you could say, families. But I
Sure.
find that most of the families want to buy a house.
And what would you say is the median price range for these type of home purchases?
For the condos downtown, for the taste, of, let's say, of an athlete that you want something a little bit larger and more luxurious, you're probably looking anywhere from the 1.3 to 1.6 million range for a very nice condo that's over 1,000 square feet, at least a 2 bedroom plus den, parking and amazing view.
Okay.
You're roughly looking around per square foot anywhere from 1,250 to 1,400 a square foot. It matters which pocket.
Got it. And what if you went up to Yorkville and you wanted a single family home? You wanted 5 bedrooms, you want a nice backyard, you want it nice and newer, you don't have to do work to it. What can you expect to spend?
Yeah, well, in Yorkville, still there's more condos there. If most of the players that want to buy a house will go up to the Bridle Path area or the Lawrence Park area. There's actually a lot of Blue Jays that live in that community, and the Toronto Maple Leafs players. And there you're looking at price ranges of like 3 million to 8 million. It ranges, but the majority would be around that 5 million mark, let's say, to get
Gotcha.
a very nice house. Yeah.
Okay. And when helping athletes come to town, I mean, we obviously housing has got to be important, but what are some of the things that you find it's important to them that you can jump in and help out with?
Well, because it happens so fast, right? They have so much on their plate. Like, imagine us, like when we move, we have so much. Imagine now an athlete that has to move to another city and they're trying to figure out, okay, if I'm going to live here, I want to be around the other players on my team. I have to find childcare for my kid. I got to find a school. Like there's a lot of things. So those are the kind of things I other than finding them a place, is finding them the good schools and connecting them with the right people, especially with the athletes' wives, to get them into that community of people that I know. It could even be like, for example, I helped one of the Blue Jays players and helping them with a stage or furniture, because sometimes they might have a 1 or 2 year contract and they just, why go buy all new furniture when they could just rent it?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
Yeah,
that's a perfect example right there, right? Or even
for
just
sure.
set up with it's interesting. It's small things just like internet, because we have different companies here than in the States. They don't know who to contact, who's the right person. So it's like a concierge service just from A to Z to help them out with all those things.
We're going to head into the spring of 24. So let's just talk about where we are right now. What do you see the Toronto market doing over the next year or two? Because I know when players come into town in different markets, they've got to really be cautious whether they buy or rent based on what the market might do and whether they're going to own that asset or real estate post playing years, right? So I think that's really important to understand what your market's going to do.
Well, looking at things long term, inevitably the rates are gonna come down eventually. But one huge, and that's gonna push the market up. But the biggest thing here is there's over 450,000 people coming into Canada every year, and the majority come to Toronto. Where are they gonna live? There's only so many homes that could be rented, so many that we could sell. So that is what's really driving the Toronto market, and it's been driving it for years, is that. And that's continuing. It's not stopping. It's actually getting larger and larger every year. So because of that and the rates in the future coming down, and it looks already, them just announcing the other day, there was an influx of buyers that just came in the market the last 3 weeks. Properties that were sitting for 5 months are going now. So that's just the beginning. Wait till summer, fall, it's going to really pick up, I think.
Now, I understand you have a taxation issue for foreign investors. How is that affecting the players coming into town?
Yes, that affects it quite a bit because, like for example, this year I helped an NFL player, but luckily he was a Canadian citizen and his family's here, right? So that he didn't have to worry about that. But then I helped another player who's an American citizen. They ended up deciding to rent because the foreign tax is substantial. It used to be actually 25%. Now it's even up to 35%. It's crazy.
35% of what?
Of the purchase price.
When do you have to pay this?
And you have to pay it in liquid cash on closing. So that's really
when you buy it or when you sell?
When you buy it.
When you buy it.
Yeah.
So if you're an athlete and you play for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yes.
And you're born in Detroit. As an NHL player, do you have to pay that tax?
Yes, because if your citizenship is an American citizenship, it's considered American, and you have to apply for your Canadian citizenship, and that takes a while after living here for a bit. And sometimes these players have 2-year contracts. It might not be feasible to even apply for it, right?
Yeah, I don't want to get political here. I can't say this is a good idea or bad idea for your city, but I can't imagine the people buying in here like this idea.
Well, this just happened just a few years ago. It never used to be like this. So they were trying to slow the market because when other markets were going up 8 to 10%, Toronto in the 1 year went up over 22%. So they were trying to do everything to kind of like put the brakes on it. I think eventually down the road they might bring it down, but they're trying to take advantage as much as they can, right?
And despite this, the real estate prices have maintained.
They still maintain because there's the loop around with a lot of people is they'll send their kids here for school, for university and college. And as long as they're going to school here and they could show that and proof, they don't get taxed.
What kind of school? Any school?
University or college, if they show that they're enrolled and they're going.
University.
Yeah.
Okay, but not preschool, elementary school, regular high school. Does that count?
For that, I would have to double check, but I believe it's just the college university from what I know.
Okay.
But that's a good question, actually. I should check that. I don't believe it is. From the last few years, it was always college university.
All right, for that rare buyer coming to Toronto, maybe they're not worried about taxes, maybe they are, but price is no limit. What's exciting to buy there? What's the high end? Tell us something really cool. Do you have a little bridal path or what?
Well, the high end, like imagine now a basketball player, and then you could say, you know what, I bought him the bridal path of my neighbor's Drake. You know, like that's what I could see high end because.
So tell us about the bridal path. What is that?
Well, you got homes there going from 20 million, even some 100 million, right? It matters which estate and which home it is, right? It's actually interesting. So once in a while, I actually take my kids and we go for a drive there so I could show them. And they couldn't believe it the first time they saw that area. It's different.
Is it a neighborhood or a street?
It's a neighborhood with a couple streets. Like there's a major street with a lot of speed bumps. It's even cobbled like brick in some areas too. And a lot of the homes are gated, and yeah, they're all gated up, and you can't just get in like that.
Well, great. I assume you'll be moving there soon, right?
Soon. Just keep on bringing the referrals, and we'll make it happen.
You got it. And Kerry, are there any other services that you want to talk about that you do help provide for your clients that's important to know?
Yeah. Look, I find that, sometimes just from speaking to other agents and knowing how some people get starstruck, right? When it's a professional athlete, I keep my cool. Like whoever I'm dealing with, I'm just like, I gotta be 1 step or 10 steps ahead, give good customer service. Yeah, they're an athlete, but don't drop the ball because they're an athlete and get starstruck. You gotta be really be on top of it and help them out with whatever they need. And always be there, follow up, communicate with them. That's key.
Awesome. Well, Kerry, thanks for jumping on today. I I'm looking out your window. It looks fairly reasonable weather-wise.
Yeah, there's no snow. It's pretty mild. You know, I'm excited because this weekend's the All-Star game. I'm going to be heading there with my daughter and check out all the NHL hockey stars they're playing.
When's the last time the All-Star event's been in Toronto? Do you know?
Long time. You know what? The last time I remember, I think I was very young when I'm 44 now, but I remember when it was probably in my teens, probably at least 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Well, enjoy the event. It's always great to see the stars come out and some of the fun, things that they're doing out there and the booths and the food and everything else. So have a great time, and we appreciate you jumping on today.
And Ed, I just wanted to thank you for having me on this call and just, your support and how big the Sports Star Relocation team is, like how important that is, because we all help each other, help athletes, and it goes a long way when we all have different experiences and how we could help each other.
Absolutely. If someone wants to get a hold of you, Kerry, what's the best way to do that?
My number or my website, kerryuhome.com, or my phone number is 416-786-5379. That's my.
And what was your website again? Say that slower.
KerryYouhome.com.
Oh, so Kerry You Home.
Kerry You Home. That's what I do.
All right. Got it. All right. Terrific. Kerry, thank you so much. You have a great day.
Okay. Thank you, Ed. Have a good day.
Got it.